Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jason Abrams. I am joined by the incomparable one, the president of Keller Williams, Marc King. Marc, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for the Torrey Pines hat. You got to play Torrey Pines. I got a hat. Thank you.
I don't know if what you could call, as I do, playing it, but I certainly carried a bag. It was just so rewarding for me. And we are joined, as always, by Joylyn Powell. Joy, how are you?
I am super well. How are you guys?
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Okay, let's kick this thing off. Here's what we promise you. This is going to be an action-packed 30 minutes. We are not going to bore you to death with a slide deck. However, a few housekeeping items before we begin. Joy, if you would please release the slide deck. Share a screen, show everyone what we're doing. I will describe it in painstaking detail for those of you that are driving right now. And kicking off with the first slide, Joy. Here we go. That's the one. Okay, there's me. We're going to spend 5 minutes on the slide deck, gang, and then we're just going to talk. There's me. There. I have no idea why I was relegated to the back of this photo, but there's me. There's Marc King, and there's Brett Tanner. Perfectly. We run 8 weeks to wealth. Joy, next slide. This is wildly important. Friends, we are not lawyers, doctors, or rocket scientists. These materials represent the opinions of the speakers only and not those of KWRI. The speakers, let me get this clear. We do not hold financial licenses. Marc, do you have one?
Nope.
Me neither. Joy, you, anything, just a head nod? No, you don't have one either. Perfect.
We're
the
realtors.
Material is provided without any warranty, guarantee, or accuracy, completeness, or result. You should consult your own legal, financial, or tax advisor. If legal had their way, I would go on to say you're better off just leaving now. But you're not going to, because this is going to be entertaining. Needless to say, when you talk tax and wealth, you need to get expert opinions. We are here to provide you with the questions to ask the experts and to give you the models and systems of the wealthy. Joy, next slide, if you will. We also want you to know that all this is copywritten. Perfect. Joy, next slide. What is 8 weeks to wealth? Stop sharing the deck. Here's what happened, y'all. We sat around and we started interviewing real estate agents. And what we found out really quickly was that there's an epidemic that's happening, which is we have real estate agents that are making more money than ever before. Now, part of this is because we're coming off of the greatest 15 years in the industry ever, and everybody made money. The other part of it is that people are getting paid more per house because the prices of homes have went up. So here's the deal. We all sell houses to make people's dreams come true. Part of that is we get paid cash. So we sell homes to make cash. Then we have to do something with our cash. Now, there's only a few things you can do with it. You can save it, you can give it away to charity, you can buy stuff with it, or you can invest it. Now, here's the good news. All of y'all know how to buy stuff. I can tell just by looking at you. Y'all got that down. As far as giving it away, there is no group of realtors that give more money away than Keller Williams. We prove it with KW Cares. You give more than any other company in the industry, bar none. And I'll take the Pepsi challenge against any of them. Saving it, it's not a long class. You put it in the freezer or under the mattress, and you are good to go. So that just leaves investing. Marc, there's a hell of a lot of confusion around investing. Why is that?
It's because every generation comes up with their own version of TikTok models that have never been talked about before. But I promise you, everything that you see a 19-year-old on YouTube talking about from their mom's basement was something that was around 20 years ago when Jason was that age. So we're seeing all the same trends come back. And if there's anything that we get out of this class, it's to understand that your net worth will grow to the extent that you do. Said differently, your net worth will grow to the extent that your knowledge around it does. And so you're going to learn a lot. Jason set it up perfectly. By the end of these 8 weeks, we want you to have a well-developed board of directors who are all professionals in their areas. And it might shock you to realize your accountant is not a tax strategist. In fact, your accountant probably doesn't know some of the tax strategy that we're going to talk about here. So you need to go find a tax strategist. Long story short, you're going to start a foundation that should take you to at least $50 million of net worth if you choose to go along this ride with us.
Now, there's only two reasons when you hear $50 million that you'd be like, that's not going to happen. It's number one, because you don't think you actually deserve to be worth $50 million, and I do, or B, you think you were too old to get there. Marc, you could probably speak to that better than I can. I just want to assure everybody that you're not.
Thank you.
Everybody is starting where they are, and that is the right place to start. The tragedy would be not starting. And so a word on wealth. I am not on the face pages or the tickety tops or the Insta Twitters. I am literally not on it. But twice a year, I join Facebook again. I reactivate my account in order for Mega Camp and Facebook and Family Reunion to go off without a hitch. And this year, I was blown away because I joined and I'm scrolling through, and here's my aha. Everybody's rich. It's probably different in your feed than mine. It was unbelievable. Everyone looked wealthy. Real estate agents in front of jets and wearing red bottoms and carrying purses from YS. It was unbelievable. Everybody was rich. You're either rich or a real estate coach. Hashtag Facebook. I couldn't believe it. And so I actually started asking the question, well, how is everybody rich? It's just me that might not. Here, we did the research. We went out and we did it. And Gary did it with the research department. Here's the truth of it. I just want to let you know the numbers. When you look around the world and you start defining wealth a different way, there's very few rich people. Here's how we define it. People that have at least $1 million in investable cash assets, excluding the equity in their personal residences and their collectibles. So you can't count your Beanie Baby collection. We're talking cold, hard cash, $1 million or more. Here's the math. There's 22.5 million of those people in the world. Not in the United States, not in your small town, in the world. That's it, the whole world. There's 7+ billion people. Now, for those of you that are squinting and you say, that can't be right, it's right. A third of that group lives in the United States and Canada. A third. Warren Buffett calls that the ovarian lottery. He says if you manage to either get born or find your way to America or Canada, you have a better chance of being wealthy. So if you're anything like me and you hear that, the next thing you ask is, well, how do you actually then get wealthy? How did the wealthiest people get wealthy? Mark, I'm going to give it to you. Get your pens out, gang. You're good.
I'm going to give you some stats here. First of all, if you are an able-bodied American, and the amount of us that are not is a rounding error statistically. So when I say that everyone watching this will make enough money in their lifetime to be wealthy and only 3% will be, it's because we don't study it. Let me give you a couple thoughts here. The average car payment in America is approaching $900 a month for 72 months. If you just invested $900 a month throughout your career, you would be worth $30 to $40 million by the time you're retired. So we have to start paying attention. And you mentioned the purses. I don't even know what YS stands for, but don't tell me. Is that the Bruno Mars brand?
Similar. Is that a shirt you're wearing? Continue.
Yeah. This is a $30 golf shirt. But anyway, this is not about being cheap. This is about understanding and telling your money what to do before wondering where it went. Here's the big key is that another stat for you, wealthy people spend an average of 8 hours a month focused on wealth building and learning and education. You're probably going to get a list of, I don't know, Jason, 50 financial books throughout 8 weeks. I have a list over 100. I've probably read 1,000. This is my personal passion. This is what I'm more passionate about than real estate, because for 20 years, we've been teaching this so that we might as well build wealth along the way. You're going to make enough money to do it. So when we give you some of these stats, this is not to make you feel good or bad. We have lots of examples. Bob asked a great question. I'm 67. How much progress could I make in 10 years? I will tell you what Gary Keller says. You can be anywhere you want to be in 5. In fact, I just want you to go back 5 years ago. I know people on this call, because I saw your faces, who had a net worth of almost 0 5 years ago. That are multimillionaires today, and they didn't do it with big cush jobs.
Yeah,
right?
That's absolutely right. So how do the wealthiest people in the world make all the money? The 22.5 million? It's really easy. Number one, here's the number one way. You ready? Inheritance. It's truth. By the way, that's 100% true. The challenge is it's not duplicatable or reliable. I've been trying to get the Keller family to adopt me for like 7 years, but they love their son. So I had to move on to number 2. Number 2 is owning a business. The wealthiest people own businesses, which is really hella convenient for this group because y'all own a business. And the number 3 way, real estate speculation. So anybody that's trying to tell you that owning a business and investing in real estate isn't how the wealthy make their money is lying to you.
Yep.
And anybody else who's pitching you some other use of your time, like, hey, you sell Rolexes on the side, or you put people into Amway, or you do this and you get 11 cents. All of that is just not real.
Yep.
The richest people in the world make their money through inheritance, which unless that's your model, by the way, if you're in line to inherit, can I just tell you the secret? You should go spend as much time with the richest person that you know that's going to give you all their stuff. That's Roy Callen's plan. That's what you do. Go hang out with the person who's going to give you the money. And if you don't have that, by the way, then you better get into owning a business, which you do, and you better get into real estate speculation. Because here's the deal. When Gary teaches Quantum Leap, he's got all these kids in the room, and he teaches. They're between 18 and 27. And what he does is he holds up something. He holds up a Nike shoe, and he says, all right, everybody, do you all know what the shoe is worth? And they say, yes. And he says, great. If I was going to sell you this shoe for $10, would you buy it? And they say, well, can I get both of them for 10? He says, yes. They say, I'll take it. He says, 30. They say, I'll take it. He says, 50. They say, great deal. Then he says, 3,000. And they're like, no, you lost me. And he's like, okay, great. How about this phone? This is the brand new Apple 13 mini, $15. Yes, $30. I'm in. 200. I'll take it. 5,000. I'm out. And then he says this, friends, all you've done is you've mastered the value of bullshit.
I knew it. You were going to say it. I put no curse words in the chat, but keep going.
There's so few words that everybody understands. Let's use them.
Okay.
Because the fact of the matter is that if you have mastered the value of things that don't appreciate and throw off cash flow, you've mastered nothing. And so what's 8 Weeks to Wealth? It's the class on how to understand the value of things that go up in value and throw off positive cash flow. That's it. That's it. Because here's the deal. If all you did was wake up and buy 2 homes a year, 2 properties a year, 8% of real estate agents own at least one investment property. 8%.
Sickening.
That can't be. Y'all, that cannot be. This thing of ours was supposed to be about creating a life by design so that one day we get to wake up and do the things we want to do when we want to do them. In order to do that, we got to go out and buy the stuff that we need to have that's going to throw off cash flow and appreciate. You think of it like this. There's simple reasons why people don't get wealthy. Joy, will you share what keeps people from becoming a millionaire slide? And Mark, I want to hit these fast with you.
Yep.
I want to do this literally in 7 minutes. I'm going to let you hit these. Gary told us that there's simple reasons why people don't become wealthy. And he said the reasons have never changed. They're always the same. And the first one is that people need to visit their capital. Mark, he said that people buy and sell assets that they should never sell. Why do you think people do that?
Well, number one, any relationship you avoid or don't pay attention to will leave you. And the same is true with your money. There's not a set it and forget it plan. And the minute you acquiesce your financial decisions to somebody else, you've heard all the stories. You've seen all the stories. The Evander Holyfields, the Mike Tysons, all of those examples of people who their financial advisor took all their money. They just stopped paying attention to it.
Yep, that's exactly right. Number 2, they're a paper millionaire versus a cash flow millionaire. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that there's a bunch of people on this call, your value of your real estate went up. Your personal house is worth a lot of money on paper. So some of you are millionaires on paper, but you don't feel like a millionaire. Mark, what's the difference between a paper millionaire and a cash flow millionaire?
Well, we think about this completely different. The only reason you need to be a paper millionaire is to borrow more money in order so that a bank thinks you'll pay it back. The reality is what you're worth on paper means almost nothing. What you receive each month and what you spend each month and what you invest in the difference is everything.
And by the way, you don't need any money to go out and start acquiring real estate.
Yep.
Because every time I do this call, someone says, well, I don't have any place to start. Your problem is not that you don't have enough cash to go start.
Never.
Your problem is you don't have a deal good enough that someone that has cash wants to do business with you.
That's right.
Because if I said to you right now, I'm going to just give you $1 million, what are you going to do with it? And you would say, well, I don't know. And I'd say, but wait, you got to spend it by the end of the day. You got to buy something that goes up in value or appreciates. You'd say, I don't have a deal. That's your problem. Not that you don't have the million. It's you don't have anything to do with it. That's what we talk about in 8 Weeks to Wealth. How do you build a pipeline of those kind of deals? Mark, the urge to be liquid. Why does everybody think that cash is better than assets all of a sudden?
We relate this to security. And the reality is if you're holding too much cash, I mean, all of us need some kind of emergency fund, but if you're holding too much cash, then the buying power goes down each and every year. The last year, it's gone down 9%. The latest core CPI is 4% for inflation. It's not exactly true. When you add back in food and energy, which we all absorb, then it's closer to 6%. So your cash is losing 6% a year, let alone making 15 or 20% a year.
Mark, and keep in mind, this is a 40-second or less answer. Debt. Why does debt keep people from becoming a millionaire?
Here's what's more important than whether you're on one side of debt or the other is that you understand what you're doing. And so in 8 Weeks to Wealth, you're going to hear all kinds of things about debt, whether to use it, not to use it, how to use it. And by the way, the words matter. So debt has gone through a PR campaign over the years. We realized debt might be wrong for us. And then we said good debt. Then we called it leverage. Now we call it sophisticated arbitrage. Whatever it is, you have to understand what debt is and what it means to your overall financial picture.
The need or urge to live high on the hog before their cash flow can support that way. Friends, I'll take this one, Mark. You need to wake up on the first of every month, and at the very bare minimum, your cash flow producing assets cover all of your costs.
YOLO.
Freedom that comes with that, friends, I can't even tell you how great that feels. Mark, you want to touch on that? I know you and I are there.
No, it's just the YOLO generation. I'm reading everywhere that, but here's a stat for you. If you're a millennial, I love you, and you need to hear the stat. 24% of you have a basic financial acumen. 75% of you rate yourself as advanced financial acumen. No judgment from me, but I'm just here to tell you that I was the same way when I was in my 20s and 30s, and Jason probably was too. But there's a big mismatch there. And this idea of YOLO, when you wake up at 67 years old and you have nothing to show for your entire career, you're going to regret YOLO.
Gosh, I don't even know what that means, and it sounds depressing. It just got dark as 1,000 midnights in here.
Right.
You don't see people as an investment. Mark, Gary says people are the best investment, and that's where he puts training.
And that's why, look, all of us who hire leverage, great leverage that doubles our income, understand this inherently. We've learned it from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you're not getting a great ROI on the people you employ, then it's not the fact that people are not a good investment. It's that you might not have the right people. So understand, Gary built what he built with 200,000 people.
They don't. This is the number one reason, by the way. And this is Gary's list in order. I'm going to just tell you this is the number one reason. They don't have a written down wealth building plan that they trust. Friends, I promise you, if you have no map, you end up somewhere, but it won't be where you were hoping to be. Here's most people don't have any plan for their investing. They end up with a junk drawer of life. I bought a couple of houses. I got a few mutual funds. I got some Bitcoin over here. This is the silver we got when we got married. And of course, I got the Beanie Babies. If I'm lucky enough to have a few Pokemon cards, so be it. There's nothing wrong with that. But just understand, you will never get what you deserve. And what you deserve is to all be millionaires. Everyone.
I don't know that anybody gets silver at their wedding anymore, but there are 14,000 marketing messages coming at you every single day, whether you realize it or not. And every one of them has one thing in common. They're trying to get in your pocket for you to spend money. If we think we're smart enough to ward off those 14,000 messages and not fall for it, then we just need to think differently. If you have a written plan, you're less likely to buy into that late night infomercial.
Just anybody who did receive any kind of silverware at their wedding, if you could just put in the chat, that would be really helpful.
Not one.
Okay, well, it's just because we just asked it. And so I know a lot of you are waiting now to be funny, but feel free to just say it. Okay, next, they spend more than they make. We don't have to get into it. Number 9, this is the key. They don't study money or the rules of investing. Friends, here's the deal. There are absolute rules and there's absolute models that work all of the time. It's not they work sometimes. It's not they work in some markets. They work all the time, everywhere. And here's what they include. Number 1, make more money. We're going to touch on the secrets of how to do that. Number 2, keep more of it, which is I need to pay less in taxes. There's 2 ways to think about the tax code. It's either a 74,000 page book of rules, or it's 74,000 suggestions on how not to pay taxes. We believe it's the second part of that. It starts with having a strategy and then understanding how to take advantage of the code, not let the code take advantage of you. Next, it's having a flow of money. If you're basing your life out of what's going on in your personal checking account, you're doing it wrong. And it's okay to say you're doing it wrong. You need a simple flow. The experts will tell you it's a complicated estate plan. It isn't. It fits on one page so you can understand how money comes in, how it goes out, and how to maximize it. See, at the end of this, you're going to end up having 4 things. A written plan that includes an avatar, which is what are the things I want to invest in. Then you're going to understand location. Where do I want to do my investing and what makes a good location? Then model. What's the financial model that I'm willing to invest in? And then the last one is the key to all this, deal flow. Deal flow simply means how many of the right avatar in the right area that fit your model land on your desk each week so that you can decide whether or not to buy it. You see, the person that gets offered one deal a year has to take it, whether it's a good deal or a bad one. But the person that knows how to wake up and lead generate for investment, they're the ones that get to pick and choose, and they get the best ones. In one zip code in Austin, Texas, Gary Keller has made over $60 million investing in real estate. I don't say that to be braggadocious. And if you're like, well, that's easy, that's Gary Keller. He started making the money before you knew him as Gary Keller. What he did is he bought a house that was on a corner. He went through the process, got a completely re-entitled zone commercial, and made $2.5 million. And you're going to say, well, I don't know how to do that. Here's the good news. Either did he. He won't tell you that. He didn't either. What he knew was the value of that zip code. And he understood highest and best use. And no, he didn't have money at that time.
Nope, he didn't.
It's a misnomer. It's a misnomer.
Look,
you don't need the money.
You're going to learn a ton of myths. And by the way, we all have it wrong. Let me just give you some common sense things to think about. All of us make enough money to be wealthy, 3% will. So left to our own devices, we have a 3% chance of being wealthy. If you pay attention to these kind of things, you have a much higher percent. I would say 100% chance, but the lawyers won't let us say that. Here's the second thing that's really important, Jason, that people just don't understand. We have it all backwards. We all think we want to make more money. If I polled the 123 people here and I said, how many of you want to make more money? We've done this live time and time again. Then I showed you graphic after study after graphic that the more money you make, actually the more debt you go into and the less better off you are. You'd say there's no way that's true. It is true. But here's the other piece. We have it backwards thinking we want to make more money before we learn what to do with that money. It costs nothing to learn how to deal with your money. And if you think about this, your economic thermostat is at some number. And just think about it like the thermostat on a wall. If you set the thermostat to 70 degrees here in Austin, Texas, and you shut out all the windows, suddenly it'd be 100 degrees in there. The air conditioner would turn on and your air would level out to 70 degrees, or the air conditioner would die trying, right? Same is true if you're in Denver, Colorado in January, like I was, and it was -8 degrees there, and you shut out all the windows, it would very quickly get cold. You all have an economic thermostat. Let me just set it at 100 grand. Here's the problem. If you do go out and make more money and you make 200 grand this year, you are highly, highly likely to sabotage yourself, waste the money, not have anything to show for it. If you're behind your economic thermostat, you're much more likely to get out of bed in the morning and go hunt down something and drag it home, right? You're going to make up your economic thermostat. Until you raise your economic thermostat, it doesn't matter how much money you make. And that is the one truth I want you to all get out of this conversation.
All right, friends, here's the deal. Like I said, this thing is hosted by Brett Tanner, myself, and Mark. I was a coaching client of Brett Tanner's, and he taught me this model. After he taught it to me, and I don't brag or talk much about money, but I made $4.5 million and I kept it, which was the difference. And I think he's a genius. Mark has helped me take that money and do things with it that I never would have considered. I think he's a genius. I am not. I'm a guy who got a 1.8 GPA in high school and got a real estate license. There's absolutely no reason that I should have had this success. That said, it's a simple model. And no matter where you are and where you're starting, you deserve it and you can have it. I promise you, if you go through life without a model and you live the junk drawer style of wealth, accumulation, and creation, you will have less than you deserve. I promise you, not having any cash is not your problem.
Correct.
It's not. Some of you don't believe me, I can tell. I promise you that's not your problem.
Let's prove it right now. You go out and find the right real estate deal in your market. And by right, I mean smoking deal. It's a killer deal. Then Jason and I will write you a check today to buy that property. By the way, anyone who likes money would do the same. You don't even have to come to Jason and I. There's someone within You could throw a baseball and hit somebody who will do that deal with you. It's about you understanding the market, finding the deal, not about finding the money.
Cool. I dig it. All right. So here's how this thing goes. If you join 8 Weeks to Wealth, you get 8 weeks. I know it's really novel. We do a call twice a week. One of them is in the evening. There it is. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Because I believe, and this is going to make you nuts, people work during the day. So if you want to take your classes at night, I teach them at night. Or you can do it Wednesday at 2 o'clock. If you want to take your classes during the day, I will do that as well. This costs, Mark, what does this cost? Joy, what does this cost?
It costs you about $10 million if you don't take it.
What does it cost if you buy it, Joy?
$395, unless you sign up today with the 15% off.
So $395, sign up today with the QR code on the screen. We're going to leave it up there, 15% off. In the chat log, I have given you my email address. I've given you my cell phone number. And I'm doing that not because I'm crazy, but because I want you to understand, we're not just building, this isn't just a class, it's a community. Meaning there's a Facebook group that goes along with this, there is emails that go along with this, there's phone numbers that go along with this. You will absolutely be able to get it. By the way, anybody in the chat who's saying, wait a minute, I didn't get 15% off, just email me. I'm more than happy to get you 15% off. Oh, there you go. Email fasttrack@kw.com if you're one of those 3 people.
Here's another quick note for you. If you have any clients who like money, referring them to something like this, maybe you can find a vendor to sponsor them or you sponsor them, whatever the case is. If you want to build a radically awesome investment business with your clients, get them into this course as well. We have room for thousands of people if we choose to.
Yeah, bring whoever in your group wants to invest. By the way, if you have a significant other and you want them to go along on this journey with you, don't tell anyone that I said just bring them, but just bring them. And let's educate them too, because if you come home with the greatest plan in the world and they're like, well, wait a minute, I was going to spend this money on golf clubs, white pants, and an orange belt, then you got a whole different problem.
Number 1 cause of divorce is money fights and money problems, not infidelity, as you might think. It's number 2. I know it's dark. I'm sorry. But if you want to be on the same page with your spouse, bring them.
Yeah. All right. Questions in the chat. Come off and we want to hear from you. You get a video library so you can watch this stuff. You're going to start by getting a wealth plan. All you do is go in and fill it out so we have a place to jump out from. It's going to be a hoot. Any questions?
If you have any people you want to put in your profit share tree and you want to show them some value, get them in front of Jason and Brett Tanner. I'm not so good, but those guys are unbelievable at this.
Well, what? $395 minus 15% is what, Mark?
That is 45, $60 off roughly. So 335, 330.
Divided by 8 weeks, that's $41 a week.
You're overpaid.
I got to tell you, I don't know, you were going to spend the $41 on Fortnite skins or something else like this. This is a better use than that.
This hat was $45. The reason I know that is because Jason leaves the price tag on the gifts that he gives me. So you spent more than that on a hat. Garrett Rowe, go ahead, buddy. Thanks for raising your hand.
Hey, quick question. Is there an option for groups, or if you have a group for like an ALC as an example that wants to take it together, obviously, or something like that, or is it just the individual group for now?
Yes, there is a group option. Jason, Joy, will you give them the group option?
Yeah, email me, jason@kw.com, and I'll send it over to you. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll do that. Is this the same content that's being covered in the Brett Tanner workshop that's coming to my region in a few weeks?
Ooh, I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that. Let me give it to you this way. There are various levels of this. I'm going to use a school analogy. We have a lot of free content that I would say is grade school level, understanding the flow of money, that sort of thing. And we're going to talk about all those things. In fact, we're going to ease you into this conversation over 8 weeks. Then we have what I would call super advanced, which can also be dangerous. I have a personal rule, Jason, of if I'm going to put $1 into anything, I'm going to study it for 100 hours before I put any money. I want to know what I don't know. And so that's where we're going to help you with that as well. But I would say Brett's in-person classes, you should go anyway. You will always learn something, but this is not the exact same content. I'm going to argue that's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to say this slots right in between. So this is a bridge from if you're worth $0 to $10 million today, this is for you. If you're already well on your way and you want to start getting into some really advanced, and I will tell you, just full disclosure, I thought I knew a lot about wealth building before I met Brett Tanner. He $700,000 this year, Jason, in tax savings. Your number one expense in your life is going to be taxes. And this is what Brett does better than anybody on the planet.
Between the Augusta rule that he got me going into this year, and then when we did the maximum
Accelerated
99A, I see
accelerated depreciation. Yeah,
140,000 this year in tax.
I know.
By the way, for some of y'all, it's weird to just talk about money. It's weird for us to talk about money, but the whole thing is called wealth. So get over it. Anybody else? Any question at all?
Gary, you got Jason fired up. I like it. It's good.
Well, someone private messaged me. Are you sure you should be talking about these dollar amounts? Now I get it. That person's from our legal team. So, but yeah, I'm more than happy to share my tax return with the room.
It's math.
Anybody else? Anything at all?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Join us. I promise you, if you make this investment, you will not feel badly about it. There's nothing we won't do to take everyone along on the wealth ride. Promise.
And that's a wrap.